Yeah, so as far as what happened or what came to light last week, I put out a statement. I stand by that statement. What happened is disgusting and vile, to be quite frank, and my statement speaks for itself. This is a government needs to be supporting women that are in a vulnerable state, not exploiting them. And I think that was the most important piece of the statement that I had put out. This is not acceptable in any way by myself, by this government, and most certainly terrible.
We know there's 15 other people involved in this investigation. To your knowledge, is there anyone else within Congress that's a part of that?
No, I don't know.
How did you find out that he was charged?
Law enforcement had informed the government of Saskatchewan that there was a member of the Legislative Assembly that was charged in this operation, and credit to law enforcement for conducting an operation like this, protecting women that are in a vulnerable position. It's at that point in time that we confirmed, my office confirmed that story, or confirmed that individual, and then we had put the news release out immediately.
How long was that period? Was it an immediate decision for you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was immediate, and as like an hour or two, as quickly as my office was able to confirm the individual, the decision was made and the statement was put out.
Have you spoken to him?
No.
What about innocent until proven guilty? I mean, he's been charged.
Yeah.
That's as far as it's.
Well, yeah, and so we've made a decision. I've made a decision, and we released that in the statement that we had last week. It's a very serious situation, and it's a situation where I think the actions are exactly the opposite of what any government member should be doing. You have a government that is moving very much in this space, funding second stage shelters, going to be amending the Human Trafficking Act in this very session. There's a government that needs to be doing all that we can to stopping this type of behavior, supporting women that are in a vulnerable position, not exploiting them. And so it's most disappointing. And the actions that I had put forward with respect to removing this individual from caucus and ultimately making a statement that there really isn't a place in the Assembly for an individual that's performing these types of actions. So it's a very strong statement, but it's one that I stand by.
And what government's position that sex workers are being exploited?
Largely, yes. The way to stop that from happening is for men to make a different decision, and for men to not make the decision to exploit women that are quite often in a very vulnerable position. And so we're bringing in laws and supports for those women, but laws to ultimately stop these types of decisions. But at the end of the day, I would say that all men have the power to make a better decision.
What about women purchasing sex?
Pardon me?
What about women purchasing sex?
Same would hold true.
What laws is the government putting forward?
What?
What laws or legal recourse is the government?
Well, you're going to see, as I said, an amendment to the Human Trafficking Act this very session. It was announced in our speech from the throne, and so you'll see that bill introduced, or the amendments to that bill introduced very shortly.
Is there any way back for this MLA, or is he done as far as you're concerned?
Done.
What's going to happen with his riding? I think he was already acclaimed until
Yeah, he won't be running for us. We'll be finding a new candidate to run in the riding.
Some people are comparing this situation with that of John McMorris from a few years ago when he was charged with drunk driving.
Yeah.
How are they different?
I don't compare the two. We've made decisions with respect to this situation, and we stand by those decisions, and I stand by those decisions. So I don't compare the two.
What would the amendment include?
Well, again, I won't preclude legislative amendments that will be introduced in the House. That would be that would not be appropriate. And so you'll see the amendments to the Human Trafficking Act when they're introduced in the House. But we did mention that in the speech from the throne. And I don't compare the two to your question, Lisa. I wasn't the leader when the last incident occurred. I am the leader today. This is a very serious charge and situation, and not one that I think in any way resembles any other member in the Legislative Assembly. We've made some swift and I would say fairly harsh decisions, and I stand by those.
If another MLA were charged with drunk driving now when you're a leader?
We'll work through each of the situations if they should arise, but I won't answer a hypothetical. What I will answer is how we've dealt with this the information that we've been given with respect to a member of the Legislative Assembly. And again, I would say that we acted quickly within an hour or two of being informed and confirming the situation, and I would say harshly, rightfully so.
Do you know which hotel he was arrested
No.
at?
What are your thoughts on the situation with Gary Grewal and some of the concerns around his hotel and?
Yeah, I don't have a lot to say with respect to outside of the policy that social services has on using hotels as a place of shelter of last resort is a policy that's been around for years, if not decades, and that continues today. I think what we likely need to do is to bring some of that policy forward to the public so that they can see why and how the Ministry of Social Services makes their decisions. And Mr. Grewal, I would ask him upon his return, he's away as he's had a brother pass, to ensure that he is sitting down with the Conflict of Interest Commissioner and ensuring that he is not in conflict with a business that he owns but does not actively run, and if there is, that he ensures that that's brought out of any conflict that might be there. So he'll, upon his return, which unfortunately he's not available right now to meet, as he's away at a brother's mourning a brother's passing. He'll be sitting down, straightening that portion of it out if he hasn't already done that with the Conflict of Interest Commissioner. But the Ministry of Social Services, I think, can bring forward what their policy is as well, maybe which hotels they use, and I think the Minister is committed to providing that information.
Do you have any concerns as Premier, as leader of the party, of even the perception of conflict of interest and how that reflects on your?
This is why we have a Conflict of Interest Commissioner. There's people on both sides of the House, I think, that have whether it be businesses or different memberships outside of their work as a member of the Legislative Assembly. That's why we have a Conflict of Interest Commissioner, is so that they can provide advice first and foremost on what you may be associated with outside of your time as a member of the Legislative Assembly, or what you may own as coming in as a member of the Legislative Assembly. And so the Conflict of Interest Commissioner is there for a reason, and I wouldn't want to preclude any conversations that this particular MLA might have with him.
Is the amendment expected to make it more difficult for sex workers to solicit their services?
Yes, and I won't get into the details of what the amendment is, as I can't discuss the legislation prior to its being introduced. But that would be the general goal, is to protect often women, not always, but often women that are in this industry, the sex industry, in a very vulnerable position, is to provide every opportunity that we can as a government to protect them. But ultimately, as I said, at the end of the day, the way for this to actually be solved is for men to make a very different decision.
What are your thoughts on Bill 234, the carbon tax exemption for fuel used for grain drying and heating and cooling?
Yeah, the fact that you're taxing food production is foolish. So we have a bill that has been passed by all members in Parliament, is now in the Senate, and I would say that the Senate really has no right to change what the intent of that bill is. I would also put forward, this is yet another carve-out that the Liberal government voted for, and so what we would ask the federal government to do, and our stance has always been clear, is to remove the carbon tax on everything for everyone. In light of not getting to that point under maybe this current administration, and it may take a change in government to achieve that, they should remove it off the necessities that we have in life, like heating our home, like growing and producing food for other Canadians and other folks around the world. And so we would expect that will go through the Senate without being changed by the Senate, and it would be a small step to removing the carbon tax on everything for everyone. Thanks, everybody. Yeah, thanks.